Hi, and welcome to Mindful, Beautiful, and Thriving, a podcast series by Taarika Foundation. In last week's Youth Series episode, Malavika and Anya rounded off our Youth Self-Compassion series by discussing the importance of meaningful passions and how to find them. Today, Malavika is going to be interviewing an expert on mindful self-compassion. So without further ado, take it away, Malavika.
Hey guys, it's me Malavika and I'm back with our guest speaker Marina Barnes, who's a wellness educator at Saratoga High School. She teaches mindfulness and a mindful self-compassion program to teens called Making Friends with Yourself. Marina, could you tell us a bit about mindful self-compassion?
Hi, Malavika. Thank you for your invitation to talk about mindful self-compassion. It's really nice to be here with you today. So, mindful self-compassion consists of, as you can tell, mindfulness and self-compassion. Mindfulness is paying attention to what is happening right now. Our minds tend to go into the past or to the future, and if we're able to focus our attention to what is happening right now, it gives us more information about our experience. And if our experience right now is of struggle and difficulty, mindfulness can help us see how we are dealing with the struggle. Are we responding to it with self-doubt or harsh criticism? Or are we responding to it with kindness? If we can see that we're beating ourselves up, then in that moment of recognition, we can choose to respond to the struggle instead with kindness. This can be a supportive touch, such as placing your hand over the heart or telling yourself, this time, I'm going to be kind to myself.
These past few months, I've reflected a lot on the way that I treat myself, through both my actions and also my thoughts. I realized that when I replaced a lot of my self-deprecating inner dialogue with support, I began to develop a much more positive relationship with myself. When I reassured myself that the bumps in the road are natural and part of being human, it gave me a chance to feel negative emotions and work through them, rather than getting scared or overwhelmed by them. It's so interesting to me that a lot of the things I did actually have a name: mindful self-compassion. It just goes to show that this practice is nothing radical. Rather, it can start to feel natural and even instinctual every time we try another self-compassionate exercise. I think a lot of my peers don't practice mindful self-compassion simply because they don't think that mental and emotional well-being are realistic expectations to have in high school. High stress and low self-worth seem to be the norm now. But just because we're surrounded by people who treat themselves poorly doesn't mean that that's how we should treat ourselves.
Yes, with awareness and with practice, you can replace the critical inner voice with a much kinder and gentler voice. And this is especially helpful in times of stress. Malvika, to understand why your peers treat themselves poorly, it might be that it is much easier for most of us to treat others with kindness than to treat ourselves with kindness. Research has shown that 77% of people are significantly more compassionate to others than to themselves. 16% are equally compassionate to themselves than to others, and only 6% are more compassionate to themselves than to others. Chris Germer, co-developer of the Mindful Self-Compassion program, says self-compassion is like doing a U-turn. What would you say to a friend to try and comfort them when they are struggling with something similar to what you're struggling with? To me, the U-turn is, can you say the same thing to yourself?
I love that analogy, Marina. So to wrap things up, today we learned what mindful self-compassion is, the research behind why we might not already treat ourselves with self-love, and a little about my own personal experiences with practicing self-compassion. In the next episode of this series, Marina and I will actually guide you through a meditation which puts these ideas into effect.
You are listening to Mindful, Beautiful, and Thriving, a podcast series by Taarika Foundation. As part of our youth series, We will be releasing new episodes every Tuesday and Friday, so make sure to continue to check those out. We hope you enjoyed this podcast, and thank you so much for listening.